You're watching Bear Down Sports, the best Chicago Bears content. Now buckle up and bear down.
Yo, 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 Mason Nation, Bears fans, claws up and bear down. Thanks for being here. This is going to be the Free Talk Tuesday episode. I'm going to try to go through things a little more succinctly, a little more quickly, because I have so much I want to share with you guys. I want to get back to the stuff that I was good at, that I was from the beginning, analytics, breaking things down, and that's what today's show is going to be. There's so much to get to. Might have to break it into more segments. If you haven't seen, done a video on Jamry Chroma. I've done a video on Austin Booker that got botched, that YouTube royally effed me over on. I really want to share with you guys the actual video instead of going live and botching it. But there's so much good about Austin Booker. Today, I want to go over this defensive line, because the only thing you're hearing about right now is how this defensive line is not complete, how this defensive line is not good enough to compete, how this defensive line, A, B, C, D, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, I'm not bought into that. I'm also not bought into the fact that we're a top 10 defensive line. I'm not unrealistic, but I don't think we're in terrible shape. And I don't think that we're in a rush to try to fix things and go out and sign someone. If last year indicated anything, this is a process. This is a brick by brick process. And we don't have to go force someone that doesn't fit. There's a reason we didn't sign Yannick Ngakoue early in the last offseason. There's a reason he isn't signed now. And I'm going to go over that. No hate for Yannick Ngakoue. He just was never a fit for this team, and he's been descending. And you guys know how I feel about players that are ascending and players that are descending. I'm just a big fan of guys putting in the work and improving every year. This is a craft. This is a job. This is a career for these guys where if you're not improving, you're unimproving. You're digressing. If you're not progressing, you're regressing. Sorry, botched that. But just like with anything, so if you're not on the up, you're headed the wrong direction. And all of these guys right now, that's what OTAs are for. That's what training camp is for. That's why we have 90-man rosters and then trim it down to 53. All of these guys have an opportunity. So we are going to get into it. We are going to break down this current team. And there are some things that you would have never seen before on this episode that you're going to see. Things that I was trying to hold for different videos, like a Keith Randolph video, a Jacob Martin video. But honestly, I don't do this full time. And I would love to do this full time. This is what I love to do. But I want to share some things with you guys from my insights, and that's what I like. So real quick, and check the chat, see who's here. Eric Harper was on early. Always appreciate you being here. Eric Harper, Thomas Gage, Mike Coes, Chris Cook, Florida Bears fan, Xander Z, bear down, everyone. August 1st is going to come quick. I am with you, Xander. Can't wait for August 1st. I know it's the Hall of Fame game. I know that our starters won't be playing, but I want to see Tyson Bagent. I want to see Austin Reed. I want to see these backup guys. I want to see these undrafted free agents. I want to see Jamry Chroma. I want to see all these guys get a chance to get out on our field. So, yeah, it's fun that we have a fourth preseason game this year, even if our starters won't be playing in it. As a Shells, Jason Tate, thanks for being here. JC1, always good to see you, and Longhorn Jeff. So people are starting to pile in. We're appreciative. I'm appreciative of every one of you who comes in. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, because I don't want to keep this past like a half hour today. And there's so much freaking stuff to share with you guys. So number one, let's get into this line. Right now there's 15 guys on our defensive line. And I get that we need to improve, but let's look at where we stood from last year first before we say that. So here's this year's team. As it stands right now, we got Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker on each side of the edges. We run a 4-3 defense. Andrew Billings and Gervon Dexter sitting there on the interior, but there are rumblings and rumors. I don't know why I have Zach Pickens underneath Gervon Dexter. Really, he could fill in on either side, but he's filled in for nose tackle. He just played better as a 3-tech last year than he did as a nose tackle. And then the X's just mean we aren't sure. We aren't sure yet who's going to fill in for because we usually carry 9 on the 53-man roster, 5 defensive ends and 4 defensive interiors. But we very much could see this year a hybrid with how DeMarcus Walker was able to move in and out. Jamry Chroma very much could move into the interior on some plays and out to the exterior on other plays. So let's see how it goes. But this is where we stand right now. These are the 15 guys on the roster. Let's look at last year's defensive actually how it looked on the field. And yes, there's more than 11 guys because there's a base set and a nickel set. And I've got both set out here. That's why you see 5 linemen. When we move to the nickel, you're going to see Kyler Gordon move up. You're going to see those 2 linebackers spread out. You're going to see Edmonds and Edwards spread out. Sanborn come off the field, and Gordon's on there. And then you're going to see usually the pass rusher exchange in on that nickel set. So that's why Ngakoue would come out. But those 2 liabilities on the set right there were Ngakoue and Jones. They did not have good years. If you see, Yannick ranked 117th out of 118th on qualifying edges, and Justin Jones ranked 107th out of 130th. He wasn't always like that. Justin Jones was a good player for us, but he was on the descent, so I'm glad we didn't re-sign him. Where does it look this year? We had a couple of yellows. You had Eddie Jackson. He's gone. You had DeMarcus Walker, who was in yellow. Now you have a couple yellows on the front of the line there. Gervon Dexter had a good year. It improved a lot at the end of the year. We're going to show that, but not significant. I don't know why Kevin Byard is yellow. That was a mistake. So up top there, I could go in and fix that, but we're live, so we're not going to do it right now. Just know that's supposed to be green. Kevin Byard is a green. And then the question mark is, who's going to be that guy that rotates in? That's what we're going to find out throughout this year. That's what you're going to find out in this season. All right, so here's the guys from last year. This is the stuff that I like to do, stuff a lot of you guys like to see. You can pause this if you want later. You come back to it, whatever you want. But this is the actual metrics from this team last year, starting with the defensive tackles up top and then below it, the defensive ends. Okay, so as we go across, there's their height, their weight, sack, hit, hurry. A lot of you guys get confused about the terminology I use for my stuff, so I'm going to change that after the screen, but I wanted to show you how I used to put it, sack, hit, hurry. That just means a pressure and plays between the pressure. So on your defensive tackles, you want to see low teens on your defensive tackles for pressure, and you don't want to see the high teens. On your defensive ends, you want to see below 10 as your sack, hit, hurry, plays between. So on the next page, you're going to see I switched the terminology to PBP, plays between pressures. And that's all a pressure is. A pressure is a sack, a hit, or a hurry. Okay. And yes, I know we fall in love. With the sacks, and for good reason. It ends the play. It makes the down. It makes them in worse distance. And with a hit or a hurry, they can still get the ball off. But all pressures are good because hits and hurries often lead to your interceptions. So these guys on the front, that's their job, is to get the pressure on the ball. And so that's the reason that we put all pressures instead of just sacks. I know the sacks are sexy and we like to look at the sacks, but there's other stuff to it too. Missed tackle percentage is just what it says, how many of their tackles they missed. On the interior, you should see a lower missed tackle percentage because you're in there congested. It's not as hard for a guy to get around you. If you don't set the edge properly on the outside, you're going to see higher missed tackle percentages on your defensive ends. So that's why with Yannick Ngakoue, 29.2, let me go back there, 29.2, that's one of the big reasons I'm not a fan of Yannick Ngakoue. He's a selfish player. He doesn't get the production he used to get with his sacks, hits, and his hurries, and he doesn't set the edge, and he doesn't tackle. There's so many games last year where I watched him falling off like he had butter in his arms. It's just frustrating, and I didn't want him to come here. I'm going to show we possibly found a Yannick replacement. Let me get to that, though. And as you go across, forced fumbles is FF. Run defense is their PFF run defense grade. I know PFF is not your end-all, be-all. I know PFF doesn't mean everything, but it's a good analysis for how they are doing in general. Then you add the tape, then you add your actual analysis to it, and you get a better scope and a better picture of it. But PFF does a decent job, a good job of putting out good grades for us to understand it. P defense means pressure defense. On their pressures, how are they performing? Then P grade is their PFF, and snaps is new. I've added snaps to it so you guys can see how many snaps these guys took. The only reason Montez Sweat snaps in Chicago because it was half a season. I'll put his whole snaps in a different screen so you guys can see that. All right. Now let's get into the stuff that I want to share with you because this is just, you can pause this. You can see how they're doing. And if you guys look at my previous stuff, you'll see under PFF grade, anybody below a 50, you have to really analyze why and whether they should remain on the team. Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens are rookies. You see improvement over the year, and it's absolutely worth it to keep them on the team. Every rookie struggles, especially on the line. Your offensive and defensive linemen rarely have that superstar grade as a first-year player. There is an adjustment in coming into the NFL. So when you see these numbers on rookies, I'm not nearly as worried about it as when I see it on a Justin Jones, who is a what is he, 7-10-year vet in the league. I don't remember how many years he's been in the league because he's off the team. So I let those things go out of my mind. But then Montez Sweat at 75, that's a superior grade. I really love the 75. And that's not even his highest grade ever. He switched to a new team. DeMarcus Walker, 59. I understand why some people aren't complacent or happy with him being a starter on the other side, but the Sweat effect is real, and I'm going to show that. Yannick Ngakoue at a 39. I say my number below 40, he's cut candidate. Get rid of him. Same with Dominique Robinson. Now, the reason I think Dominique Robinson is still here, and I realize I'm talking fast, guys. I'm trying to get the meat and potatoes for you guys because I know that's what you guys want to see, and it's what we like out of the stuff that I do. So we're going to get to some of that. But I just want to go over these guys. And then Khalid Kareem, only 26 snaps, but there's high potential there. So let's look at the Tez effect. Here's the Tez effect. And I've shown this with the with the DeMarcus Walker at the bottom there. And you can see the PBP, I switched it. So plays between pressures. You can see the significant thing when Montez Sweat came over the second half of the season, basically, is the plays between, he creates such a disruption that it made it possible for DeMarcus Walker to have starter type of stats. So his plays between pressure dropped almost a full 2 plays. So instead of every 11, down to every 9. But the significant thing is it closed the entire pocket. That entire pocket closed down a lot better. He went from missing 33% of his tackles, so guys getting away or around from him, down to 6% of his tackles, which is elite. That is very elite. So will that continue? That's the thing we should be about in Chicago, excited about in Chicago, is the effect this had. Now, the one I haven't shared, and I want to do this for a Pickens video, but I had to put it on here because I want you guys to see. Look at Zach Pickens. Now, the reason I haven't done Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens is the Tez effect is because you can attribute a lot of this to the rookie effect as well. You can attribute this to a rookie getting their NFL legs underneath them. And sorry, I'm avoiding the chat for a minute, guys, over here. I'm avoiding the chat for a minute because I want to get through so much stuff. You guys enjoy the chat. Hopefully everything's good over there, but it's just a one-man show here, so I'm just going to keep rolling. But Zach Pickens, is it rookie? Is it getting his NFL legs under him? Is it Montez Sweat coming over? I don't know, but I do know I love what I watched on tape the second half of the year, and the metrics break down and share it too. So Zach Pickens pre-Montez Sweat coming over, obviously his height and his weight aren't going to change. His plays between pressure was atrocious. 36.5 plays between getting a pressure. Now, some of that has to be getting his NFL legs underneath him. 16.7% missed tackle percentage. And he did get a forced fumble, but I'm not going to say he didn't get forced fumbles because Montez Sweat came. It's just circumstance sometimes attributes those. Most guys don't get more than one forced fumble a year. His run defense was lower, and his pass rush defense was lower. Now, PFF grade, there's not a simplified way for me to break it down for half the season. I can do my best. I did it with DeMarcus Walker, but it's not my science. So I left that blank. But after Montez Sweat came over, there was a significant change in Zach Pickens' play. Because that pocket closes down, he was able to get in there more. One pressure every 12.5 plays, which is elite for an interior defensive lineman. That is awesome. And then 11% missed tackle percentage, which is really good. The interior, you want your missed tackle percentage to be a lot lower. There's a lot less space for guys to get around you. So that number should be lower. You should be right around where this is at 11%. His run defense grade came up. His pass rush defense grade came up. He looked really, really good. In fact, he looked better than Gervon Dexter the second half of the season. But Big Dex had 4 sacks, which is the sexy thing, and we love it. I didn't put all the Big Dex stuff in here because I really think this was him being a rookie, and it was him being coached to put his nose down and just freaking bull rush, become Jalen Carter style. And if I'm being honest, yeah, we probably should have taken Jalen Carter. I mean, the Tampa defense, what we run, cruxes around the 3-tech, but there were the character concerns and issues. We needed an offensive tackle as well. Darnell Wright played really well, has high upside. Not upset about it, but we needed a 3-tech. Gervon Dexter showing he can do that. Now, if you guys haven't seen on his Twitter. Go check it out. Gervon Dexter put on, I don't know, a month or two ago where he's working out. He looks freaking jacked. He looks ready. I love a lot of these guys that they're putting time into the craft. He, Tyson Bagent, I mean, a bunch of them have put stuff up and showing their work this offseason, and I love it. So let's keep flying. All right, so here's two guys that you guys need to be aware of, okay? So Khalid Kareem was on the team last year. Now look at his 2021 with Cincinnati. These are all small sample size numbers. Jacob Martin, small sample size numbers as well, but he did start in 2021 in Houston. I'm going to show now a video clip of Jacob Martin. I'm not going to talk during it, and I condensed it because the whole crap that I went through with the Austin Booker thing. I create this, I put the tape together, and then YouTube flags it, which pisses me off. So if this gets flagged, I'm going to have to be able to cut it out. So I'm not going to talk during it and give my analysis, but it's about a minute long. I just want to show you the tape on Jacob Martin from that 2021 year because there's extreme high upside. That's him with the circle. Pass deflection right there. All right, I said I wasn't going to talk, but I can't help it. Try not to do too much. There he is right there. If this play doesn't get you excited about Jacob Martin, I don't know what will. Burst right through that line right there. Let me show that again. Boom. I mean, he's just shedding guys right there. Boom. Strip sack right there. Oh, man. Guys, there's a reason these guys are in the NFL. There's high upside with a lot of these guys. Good counter move, good fake move right there. Watch his hands as he does this fake move. Boom, boom. Man, I love the edge position. It's my favorite position, guys. Okay, it's on the outside there. Man, he's got a motor too. You guys watching this live, you get to see this. It might get cut out. We'll see what YouTube does to me. There he is getting Patty Mahomes. Man, this is the stuff I love to watch too. Motor. He's got a motor. He's not getting playing time. That's quick. That was a quick burst. You guys see that? Watch this burst. Right off the line. Oof, that is quick. That's quick for an edge. This is in 2021. All right, let me remove that from the screen. Now, you might say, well, this guy is so freaking good. Why isn't he starting? Well, let's go back to it. Here's Jacob Martin. All right, let's go to, actually, I don't have it on here. Let me share my screen and let's go look at PFF. PFF. All right, Jacob Martin. Here's the thing with Jacob Martin right there below. Look at his tackling. Look at his missed tackle, career missed tackle of 30.5. So he is very similar to another player we talked about, but 145 total pressures on 1,205 pressure attempt plays. That's really, really high. So he's an elite rusher, edge rusher. I don't know what else to say about that except there's high potential there, and that's why you sign a guy like this on minimum. So this is what I was going to show on the next one. No, he hasn't been hurt. Cornelius Squalls, he hasn't been hurt. He's very similar to another player. So let me show you right here. Here's player A and B. I already ruined this. I kind of did it as a fun format of, all right, here's potential signings. Who would you rather sign? Player A, 6'2", 246, plays between pressure over their career. So these are career numbers. 9.1 plays between pressure, 22.8 missed tackle percentage. Both of these are very high missed tackle percentage. I put forced fumble ratio because how often between a forced fumble. I know this doesn't mean anything without context. Right, let me pull myself up here so you guys can. Maybe I'll do it like this. I know this doesn't mean anything without context, but those are both really good on forced fumble ratios. If you get a couple of forced fumbles a year, and most guys play, I don't know, 700 plus snaps if you're a starter. So if you get a couple forced fumbles a year, that's really good. Run defense, player B is significantly better. 10 points on run defense grade is significantly better. pass rush defense 5 points higher on player A over their career. But what I want to show, and obviously, let me go back. Obviously, player A is Yannick Ngakoue. Player B is Jacob Martin. So extremely similar players, extremely similar size, play style. Everything about them is extremely similar. And they're roughly the same age. I mean, they're not, neither of them are rookies. Let's go back here and look at boom. So there's Jacob Martin, 28 years old, but you can see the high upside of that year was his best year. His tackling was the best it ever was. Pass rush was the best it ever was. There's high upside potential. There's traits there, and I think the Bears want to bring in a lot of these high upside potential guys with Eric Washington, with a very highly regarded defensive line coach. Now let's go back to Yannick Ngakoue. Give you guys some context of why I don't love the idea of Yannick Ngakoue. 6'2", 246. But look, here's his big years with Jacksonville. See those years right there where he was getting 10, 13 sacks, lower missed tackle percentage right there. But then ever since then, especially these years right here, look at how he's declined. And this is why I didn't want us to sign him last year, because I looked at these two and I looked at these high missed tackle percentage and I saw the tape of him sacrificing, setting the edge for trying to be a selfish player and get the sack. I mean, I say selfish, I just mean he didn't contain. I mean, he didn't bring the pocket in like Montez Sweat does. That's why Montez Sweat is so freaking unique. He can both contain the run and get pressure. He's absolutely a star that we want. Oh, I realize this is small, guys. I'm sorry. This is really small. Here, whoa, now we're huge. But there's Yannick Ngakoue. This is what I'm talking about here. Those are his numbers. And here's the last couple years right here. And you see that? This is what I was looking at the last couple years before we brought him in. I said, no, why do you guys want to sign him? We don't want to sign him. And then if we go back to Jacob Martin, here's his career so far. And you see a couple years ago, this is last year. See, within the last couple of years, it's still not declined. So I'd rather take a flyer on a league minimum guy like this. We're paying him $1.1 million for a year for a high upside. I'm trying to get this year right here where he was a starter. He hasn't been a starter before or since, but he was a starter right there. But he does sacrifice on the tackling a little bit. So there's a little give and take there. But it's a flyer. It's 100% a flyer. And that's what you're going with here. So who would you rather take? No, I don't want Yannick. I'd rather have him. But here is the reason I don't think we're signing someone right now, because we have so many young players that this is 100% a situation where the Bears, you have to wait to see what you've got. Actually, let me pull up. I don't know who hasn't seen this right here. But this is the Bears. Let me start that over. This is the Bears defensive line from training camp, from first week of OTAs. As we know, the second week of OTAs is going on right now. And, not a whole lot to report from that. And anything you do, it gets taken out of context. So I didn't want to do my Free Talk Tuesday today on OTAs. I just think there's so many other things that we can analyze on this team. I wanted to do the line. And this is what the Bears posted last week on May 24th during OTAs. Our defense is looking scary. This is all defensive linemen. So right there, that's 55. So that would be Jacob Martin right here lining up. 95, that would be DeMarcus Walker. 92, that's Daniel Hardy. We'll get to him in a second. And this just shows them going to work. Actually, I really like that. Right? I mean, that's quick burst. Boom. Even Dominic Robinson, who you're going to see right there, number 90. He's not done yet. He still wants to play ball. That's Dominic Robinson. Look at those legs, freaking thick legs. I mean, he was built. We'll go to Dominic Robinson. He just has not panned out in the NFL. So I'm ready to give up on him, but I don't think you got 2 years of control left in him. He was a late 5th round pick 2 years ago. So he's been in the league for 2 years. We've got 2 years of control left on him. We'll see what the Bears do. And then 52. Who is 52? 52. Oh, Khalid Kareem. And then here's our rookie, Austin Booker. Oh, did you see that at the end? Did you guys see that? You guys know I love Jamri Chroma. I'm so excited to see what he does. Right there at the end. Oh, next up was Jamry Chroma. Why'd we have to do that, Bears? Why couldn't you do 4 more seconds of video? Austin Booker. Next up would have been Jamry Chroma. There's Booker right behind him. Oh, Jamry Chroma. Come on, let me see Jamry Chroma. Oh, Bears. Why you got to tease me like that, Bears? Why you got to tease me like that? Anyways, let's get off of that. All right, so let's go back to these guys. All right, so Austin Booker. This is the young guys. So this is what you got to see. Austin Booker, without a doubt, is making this team. He's 100%. This is their last year in college, okay? Just so you guys can have a taste of these guys that we're hanging on to. Number one, Austin Booker, 6'4", 248, only 1 year in college. If you haven't watched my video on him, go watch it. High upside, improved throughout the year. He's a freaking stud. Dominique Robinson really did well in college. Plays between pressures, 8.86, 11.5 missed tackle percentage. Both those really good numbers. Decent grades. I mean, right in the middle on all of them. So a balanced player, but he just has not panned out in the NFL. Jamry Chroma, I think, is absolutely a stud. I think he's making the 53-man roster without a doubt, 100%. I absolutely believe that. There's too much upside. He just comes from a small school, James Madison University. If you haven't watched my video on Jamry Chroma, go watch my video on Jamry Chroma. I actually do like that video. And Daniel Hardy was drafted in 21, the same as Dominique Robinson. Look at his plays between pressure, 5.34. His missed tackles a little bit higher, forced fumbles. But here's the reason he was drafted in the 7th round. He came from a tiny school, even smaller than some of these other schools. It was a Division II school or whatever you call it, playing South Dakota State, playing North Dakota State. Which freaking school did he go to? I can't remember. Daniel Hardy. You guys are testing my knowledge right here on the fly. I should know this. Let's go look it up. Daniel Hardy. Man, this is way too big now. Keith Randolph, we're going to get to him in a minute. Daniel Hardy. Montana State. That's where he was. You look at his numbers. He played really well that senior year. 411 pass rush opportunities, 77 pressures, 17 sacks, which is ridiculous. So, I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous with 2 forced fumbles. He had a stellar year, but he was playing subpar competition. You look at the teams he was playing: Texas Tech, Southeast Missouri State, Western Illinois, Norfolk, Northern Arizona. I mean, nobody on here is quality. Not a single one of them is quality. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's the wrong year. That's 2019, 2023. Go to 2021 was when he came out, so it would have been 20. I don't know. This seems a little screwed up, but here it is. Weber State, Cal Poly. I mean, none of those are. I mean, this is tiny school. He came from a tiny school. So, all right, let's go look at Keith Randolph. Keith Randolph's what I want to look at. Yes, I know. We need to keep some players a secret. They're keeping Chroma a secret, Adam. Dude's a dog. 100% agree with that, hippie nerd. FCS, you're right. Not Division II. FCS. What kind of screwy accent with that? I'm just on the fly, guys. I'm just doing my thing, okay? I'm just doing my thing. All right, let's look at Keith Randolph. Here's what you guys want to know about Keith Randolph. I haven't done a full video on Keith Randolph, but you want to see Keith Randolph. This is 2019. Here's 2023. Keith Randolph would have been drafted 100% had he stayed healthy. If he was healthy, he would have been drafted. We got him, fortunately, as an undrafted free agent. We got him because, look at, he had some injury concerns. He had his leg rolled up on, and he had to miss a couple games in there. And it concerned a lot of teams, and his production came down quite a bit. Only 13 pressures on 275 pass rush coverage. His missed tackle percentage went up. He still could have been drafted. He was graded as a 6th, 7th rounder. But you look at his 2022, look at that 2022 right there. 7.1% missed tackle. His run defense was 84.6. Nobody got around him. And he had 32 pressures on 318 pass rush plays. That's stellar. So let me go back here, and you look there, Keith Randolph below. Let me make it big again. Keith Randolph on the bottom is 2023, where he had a little bit of an injury. Things impacted him a little bit. 21 plays between a pressure. The next year, 9.94 plays between, or the year before, 9.94 plays between a pressure. 7.1 missed tackle, and those grades are really, really good grades. So I think we've got more of a dog than I realized off the beginning with Keith Randolph. And this is why I think the Bears are in hold and wait mode now. They're in the mode, and this is everything. All right, so here's this year's players in the colored up top, guys that played last year with us, and then the potential players in gray from their college numbers. And I realize Dominic Robinson played with us last year, but I'm showing his college to show that he has potential and that we're trying to develop these guys. So that's the big thing with the video today, guys, that I want to express is I think it's way too early for us to be going to sign someone. So all you guys who are waiting on us to sign someone, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. I think the Bears are absolutely in the mode of seeing what they got in training camp, seeing how OTAs go, watching stuff like this. Watching stuff like this, when you see this stuff, the Bears right now, they're working with these guys. They're working with these guys to see what we've got. And there's so much high upside potential with all these guys, with all of them. I mean, there's so much upside. And that's what we're doing right now is we're seeing what we have. Eric Washington, our defensive line coaches, they're all working with them to see what we've got. So I don't think we're in this rush to go sign Calais Campbell, Carl Lawson, Ogba. I don't think that we're in this giant rush to go sign someone because it's not. I mean, yeah, are we a top 10 defensive line right now? Probably not. Probably not. But with Montez Sweat alone, he's elevating the guys around him. And we've got 2 rookies that we signed in the 2nd and early 3rd round last year. Those are day 2 players that if you guys have watched my channel, day 1 should be your immediate impact guys. These guys should be on the field every play. Your first round picks by day 1 is what I mean. So your first round pick should be on the field every day playing. Your round 2 and 3, your day 2 guys are what I call high upside potential. They need to develop, but they should be playing every day. That's how I look at the draft. So that's what we got out of Zach Pickens, out of Tyreek Stevenson, out of Jervon Dexter. All 3 of them playing all the time, getting significant snaps and upside. All of them improving significantly, especially Tyreek Stevenson. The second half of the year, he was one of the most elite in the entire league. I can't express that enough, how underlooked he is, which is fine. Let the rest of the league underlook him. But he played just as high as JJ last year, as Jalen Johnson. And so we've got elite lockdown corners, and now the line is continuing to develop. We're not going to go out and sign someone to replace one of these day 2 picks when right off the bat, these guys have been improving day in, day out, doing the work. I love everything about where the Bears are. The green pops up in highlights, so I do have to show that. Eric Harper in here first. Great all the time. FGB. Write an FGB in there, guys. Write an FGB in there. Thanks, Eric Harper, for the super sticker, super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys tuning in and being here. We are just going to wrap it up in just a minute. I wanted to keep this around a half hour. So if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, subscribing if you haven't subscribed, I appreciate it. Let's go back and look at this real quick, though. Hide that. So here's the stats from this last year, and you can see the things that concern me. Now, Jacob Martin was not on the Bears, but you look at his pressures. Look at that 7.64 plays between a pressure. And I put both on here so you guys could see that. But his missed tackles. So could you see him coming down as a 3rd down specialist, especially? And then Austin Booker getting a lot of reps at 1st and 2nd down. Yes, I see Austin Booker's missed tackle percentage is high, but he only played 1 year, and he sets the edge really, really well. That's what I love about him as a rookie. He's very balanced. He's very Montez Sweat-like. He's very, I hate to say it over and over again, he's very Max Crosby-esque. He really is. He has a motor, and he's going to be that guy that's going to be able to contain the run at a 94%. Really, really, FGB means F Green Bay. Not FBG, but FGB. Maybe somebody put FBG. But FGB all day long. I hate the Packers. I really do. So I'll leave this up here for a second. You guys can pause it if you want to. Khalid Kareem, you see 0% missed tackle. He only played 26 snaps, but it's still good. I mean, still good. So I just think there's too much high upside on this defensive line for us to be going signing someone right now, because you're going to see significant time again from Andrew Billings. Now, we can't say enough about him. Look at his pass rush defense grade, his PFF overall grade, 66. That's a starter. There's a reason that we signed him to an extension for 2 years. Andrew Billings, Gervon Dexter, however you say it. I get it wrong. I'm just going to say Big Dex, Sexy Dexy. Zach Pickens, all three of them should get significant time. With Keith Randolph coming in, if we can duplicate what he did in 2022, we just found a great productive player to learn on the fly. Then you've got Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, Jacob Martin, Austin Booker, and I really think Jamari Croma is going to be the cream of the crop for this year's undrafted free agents. You could very much see something like DeMarcus Walker's usage. Now, Jamari Croma played 2/3 of his snap on the edge last year, on the outside, on the tackle or outside the tackles, and 1/3 is the interior. But he's a big boy. He's just like DeMarcus Walker. Let's go back and show you there on the last page here. You look at Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, 6'4", 280. Look at Jamari Croma, 6'4", 275. Very similar build, very similar burst off the ball. They can play either position. And so I can see the Bears mixing up with both of them, getting both of them reps on the interior, getting both of them reps on the outside. I can see that happening, but we do need to be shored up on the interior just a little bit to be able to do that. But if Big Dex, if Zach Pickens, if Andrew Billings are all clicking on every play, you have the flexibility and freedom to do that with those two guys to be able to interchange them a lot. So that's what I've got today, guys. I'll leave that up for just a second. I'm really, really excited about this defensive line. I'm excited to see how they progress. I want to see what comes along. If you listen to Eric Washington in the press conferences, he's elated about it. He loves everything about Austin Booker. He's slippery. And on my video, I was trying to show how he was slippery, but that got flagged. But he's slippery and he's got a motor. He never stops. And the same thing can be said about Jamari Croma, Keith Randolph. I mean, there's so many guys. Jacob Martin, I think, is being underlooked as a signing for us this year, which is fine. Let's let him go out in preseason. Let's let him go out in camp and prove it, and we'll see where things go from there. But it's just too early. It's too early for us to be saying we need to go sign a Calais Campbell or a Carl Lawson or someone else and bring them into the mix when we've got such a good group of young players. Let me know what you guys think, though. Let me know if you think we should sign someone else. I'm not opposed to it because the more talent you bring in, the better it is. Obviously, iron sharpens iron, as the Bears keep saying. And that's what you want, is you want your best players playing. So if you bring a Carl Lawson in, who was injured last year but is really good. I brought him up on this channel several times as someone that I would be interested in us signing, especially if you can get him for like $3 million, which should be the rate of where he goes at. You bring Carl Lawson in, it only makes things more competitive and brings out the cream of the crop on this. So I wouldn't mind us signing someone else. I just think it's too early with this young group of guys that the Bears are trying to extract out of. Daniel Hardy's been on our practice squad. He was a good prospect when he was drafted. Jamari Croma, high prospect. Dominique Robinson was highly regarded when he came out, just hasn't made it in the NFL. Dominique Robinson, I don't think they're done with. So we'll just see where it goes. But I'm not opposed to it, but do you guys think we'll be signing someone soon? I'm not convinced that we are, and that's where I stand with this. I'm not convinced that we're going to be signing someone, especially before we get into the preseason games. I think you're going to see us rolling into preseason with this group right here to see what they can do, and then if we have an obvious hole, maybe we go sign someone. But those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you feel about our defensive line, because I'm stoked about it. I'm stoked about seeing what these second-year players especially can do with Gervon Dexter, with Big Dex, with Zach Pickens, and how Andrew Billings played last year. I think there's so much potential. And then throw Austin Booker, Jamari Croma into the mix, even Keith Randolph. I think there's so much high upside on this team. Do I expect us to be a top 10 defensive line with this group? Probably not. But I think it's the type of group that if they come together and they develop, they could surprise a lot of people and could end up doing it. Just more likely will be a middle of the pack defensive line right now. And then next year with our high draft picks, we've got four day 1 and 2 picks, a first, 2 seconds, and a third as it stands right now. So this was the year we focused on the offense. Next year, I think we refocus again on the defense in the beginning, on the defensive line specifically, and then probably target some offensive players in the middle of the draft and go from there. So let me know what you think. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate every one of you. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Claws up and bear down.